Well, the Yorkshire weather hasn't been too clever this week. We've been well and truly rained off for a few days, which means we haven't managed to get out as much as we'd planned. But honestly, that's alright. We're in no rush here. That's one of the biggest shifts with this lifestyle, learning to move with the seasons, not against them. So instead of pushing through the mud and rain, we've slowed down a bit, taken stock, and focused on the jobs we can do. And actually, it's turned into a really productive and reflective week. At the start of the week, I did a full walk around of the Homestead. That video is already live if you've not seen it, and it was exactly what I needed. Sometimes you get so caught up in doing bits here and there that you lose sight of the bigger picture. So walking around, looking at everything properly helped me reassess what actually needs doing, and more importantly, what needs doing first. I've started putting together a bit of a priority list, not a rigid plan because we all know how those go, but more of a guide. Something to help keep me focused when there are 100 different jobs all shouting for attention. But I think that's something I'm learning more and more. Not everything needs doing now, just the right things at the right time. One of those right things this week has been getting strawberries into the planters that are finally ready. We managed to get 52 planted, which feels like a good start, but when you say it out loud and then you realise there's still around 200 to go, it definitely puts things into perspective. But again, this has been a bit of a lesson in patience. Building those planters feels like it takes forever, especially when you're trying to fit things in around work and everything else. And at times it feels like I just want them all finished so I can just get growing. But now that I'm planting the strawberries into a few of them, I can see why it's worth taking the time to make sure they're done properly. It's the same with the strawberries themselves. Last year, we only had around 50 plants. And even with that, we were eating juicy strawberries, big bowls at a time, for well over a month. So when you scale that up, it's exciting. I'm so excited to see how many strawberries we get this year. But it also reminds me that good things on a homestead don't come instantly. You build them slowly, season by season, in a way that you can manage. And that's kind of the beauty of it. One of the problems that I had when I was planting them out was that all the tags had been blown out by the wind when they were in the nursery. So I had to kind of sort them all out first into the different varieties because we've got far too many than anybody needs. And I only had a few where I had 13 that I could put in a planter, so they're all in the same planter. Now all the rest of them are sort of like random. So I'm going to end up with loads of random beds of strawberries. But again, that's just one of those things. And you can either stress yourself out about it and be upset that you're never going to know which variety of strawberry it is, or you can just enjoy all the strawberries anyway, which we did last year because we didn't have any idea which the varieties were, which is, again, we were frustrated, but we saved loads of runners from the other ones. And we're just going to keep doing that. And then I think we'll just grow more of the ones that we know we like and less of the ones that we don't. But this is just one of those things. When there's that many new jobs on the to-do list, you kind of just overlook things as simple as putting the tag in so deep so that it can't get blown out of the wind, because you don't realise that that can actually happen. And that's a lesson for next time. Another job that I finally got done this week was sorting through the storage onions in what I call the onion shed. Now, this was actually one of my most successful crops from last year, and probably the one that took the least effort, which still surprises me. I don't know why. I grew them mainly from sets last year, with a few from seed, and honestly, I've barely touched these all winter, apart from going in occasionally to grab a few to use in the kitchen because we eat more than an onion every day, but they've just been left to it. So going through them now, I've been checking what's still good, getting rid of any that have gone mouldy, and setting aside the ones that won't last much longer so we can use those up first. This was one of the crops that caught me by surprise because I knew all along that you had to lay them out in the sun to dry them off, but I hadn't thought about the equipment I would need to do that, or about picking a time where I knew it wasn't going to rain. So they ended up getting rained on a few times because I'd either left them out too long and not brought them inside before the rain came. And yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, oh, the onions have got wet again, and we just had to keep drying them out until I actually remembered to bring them in. But it's made me reflect because technically I didn't store them properly. I should have taken the tops off and created them neatly, and that was the plan. But the ladder didn't get finished, and it just became another one of those jobs that got abandoned along the way. And at the time, I didn't really know what else to do with them, so I just left them. And somehow, they've been absolutely fine. But this year, I'm going to go all in and grow them all from seed. It feels like the next step, a bit more involved, a bit more challenging. But that's how you learn, isn't it? And of course, with the onions that need using up, we made homemade onion bhajis, which felt like a proper reward after sorting through them all. But there is one thing that still annoys the hell out of me, and that's corn flour. It's one of those ingredients I use all the time in custard, Yorkshire puddings, bhajis, loads of things, and yet I cannot seem to find an organic version. And when you're trying to be more self-sufficient and more intentional about what you're eating, it just sticks out. So this year, I've decided I'm going to try and grow my own corn and make it myself using the flour mill. Now, whether that actually works or not, we'll see. But even just attempting it feels like a step in the right direction. Another big focus this week has been sowing flowers, hundreds of them, to go with the ones we've already got going. Partly to use up the ridiculous amount of seeds we've collected, but mainly to start preparing for the bees. And honestly, I was so excited about getting bees. They're just incredible creatures. The way they work, the way they support the entire ecosystem. It's hard not to be a bit in awe of them. And bringing them onto the homestead feels like such a big step, not just for us, but for everything growing here. The flowers are just the beginning of that relationship. It's about creating an environment where they can thrive, and in return, they help everything else thrive too. It's one of those reminders that this isn't just about growing food. It's about building a whole, balanced system. And I think there's something really special about knowing that even the smallest things we're sowing now, these tiny seeds, are going to play a part in supporting something much bigger. It makes you slow down and think more intentionally about what you plant and why. Because it's not just about what we want to harvest, it's about what we're giving back as well. And if we can create a space that's full of life, buzzing, growing, constantly moving, then that feels like we're doing something right. And finally, I've spent time going through all the seedlings, checking what's ready to be potted on, making sure everything's watered, and just generally keeping on top of them. Because this is where things can easily slip, and this is where I've made mistakes before. It's easy to get excited when you sow seeds, like I do, but the real work is in the nurturing after. Every stage matters. And when you're still relatively new to it, like we are, it's not always second nature yet. You forget things, you miss the right moment, and sometimes you lose plants because of it, which is frustrating, but it's also part of the learning process. That's why I've started setting aside a dedicated potting on session every Saturday afternoon, same time, every week. Because if I don't make it a routine, it just doesn't happen consistently, and when it doesn't happen, that's when things start to struggle, and before you know it, weeks have passed by again and the seedlings are dead. So this is me trying to build those habits, making it part of the rhythm of the week rather than something I fit in. So that's been our week. A bit slower, a bit more reflective, but still full of progress in its own way. Next week, we're hoping to get radishes and more crops into the kitchen garden beds, finally get some very overdue fruit bushes and trees in the ground, and start the renovations on our beehives. And my next video will be out on Wednesday, all about how we left our old life behind to build a new one because we just didn't feel like we belonged there anymore. But for now, thanks for being here, and we'll see you in the next one.